Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video, and if I did comment to you saying, great question, I might use this, and I didn't, please drop that same question again and put repeat question, and it will get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I always like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision. And I have been in the hobby since it started, and I've never left, so I've been here for a very long time. We do have to give a quick thanks for our video sponsor real quick, and that is Collectr. This app is the best of the best when it comes to tracking your collection. No other app even compares. I've tried every single one of them. They're always trying to improve by adding new cards, boxes, and features, so let us know down below if there's anything you need them to add or fix. And they just added the brand new trade analyzer, so definitely check that out. And then also, they do more giveaways than anyone in this entire hobby, so make sure you stop what you're doing right now and go follow them on all their socials so you do not miss out on these insane giveaways. Then, of course, if you're going to grade 2 PSA for your first time, you can click my link in the description, use the code BEARD25 and you get $25 off. And if you guys want to try out Tag, I now have a Tag affiliate. You can click my link in the description, use the code BEARD10, and you'll get 10% off your very first submission. All right, first question is from @TopHatCat. Is now the time to sell 151 singles, or are they a long-term hold? So the thing about Pokemon cards compared to sealed products is cards really fluctuate. Cards will always go up and down, because you never know. We could get, a way better 151 set to where this set doesn't even look that good anymore. Like, it's possible, a couple years from now, we could get completely new cards to where it makes these special illustration rares not that special anymore. It's very, very possible. It's happened many, many times. The way 151 went crazy like that in the matter of like 3 days and everything doubled or tripled, that's pretty unnatural. And, you can almost guarantee that they're going to come down in price a little bit. So like the Charizard was basically at $500. You could have sold it at $500 and buy it back now at, $400 or $350. But here's the thing. A lot of people, when they do sell, when stuff is at their absolute top and they're like, yeah, I'm going to buy it when it gets cheaper, they don't do it. Because something new will come out that they want to get that instead. And then the Charizard drops down to $300. They're like, it'll get a little bit cheaper. It'll get down to $250. And they keep waiting, and then all of a sudden, it goes crazy again. And now the Charizard card is a $600 card, and you're like, man, I wish I would have bought it at that price. That's why I always say buy the dips, and it's honestly a good time to sell when it's an all-time high. Every once in a while, you might get a little screwed where you'll sell it at $500 or $550, and a month later, it's at $650. But just knowing that market cools off, that card will come back down in price a little bit. And as long as you got it for $100, which, this Charizard was very cheap for a while, you made a decent amount of money. So I actually think these cards will drop a little bit more and find their new spot. But then again, down the road, these cards can definitely double or triple again. Like, it's not impossible at all, especially in this market to where people can kind of manipulate this to happen. If someone does a big buyout on one of these cards, just automatically goes up in price. So yeah, always remember, buy during dips and sell during all-time highs. Next is from @Nathan Petty. Hey Beard, hope all is well with you and the fam. Do you think the Sword and Shield Alt Art Sleeping Espeon is being slept on? Moonbreon over 3K and a 10, and Espeon under $700. Yeah, I love that card. I think Espeon is actually cooler than Umbreon, or right up there with it. And pretty easy to grade though, 11,000 in a 10, 6,000 in a 9. But last sold $630, $616 from Fusion Strike, the second most expensive set in the Sword and Shield era. For $600, I don't think that is a bad pickup at all. Next is from @Colin Whitaker. Hey Beard, super big fan of your videos, thank you. I was thinking about picking up a case of the 2026 Pokemon Day boxes. Do you think this is a good idea? I like the product. Pikachu promo. You're getting decent packs in there. Looks like you can get it on eBay for $195 or best offer. But someone is actually doing a bunch of these on auction right now. It actually ends in 10 hours, but it will be done by the time you see this. But you can go check the eBay sold listings and see what they're selling for. I'm watching a couple of them just because I'm curious. I do have one of these cases that I did get at MSRP. I would not mind getting another 1 or 2 cases, to be honest. But I don't like this box nearly as much as the actual new illustration collection with the really good promos. But still, not a bad little box. And like I said, you cannot go wrong with Pikachu as a promo. And it's got a stamp. Next is from @TJ Bartlemas. With the rapid rise in the Haunter Battle Deck promos price, what are your thoughts on picking up the rest of the Battle Deck IRs that released over the summer? There's only one print wave for all of them and can see these being pretty rare in the future. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. We got Steven's Beldum. That Battle Deck is only $28. We got the Marnie's Morpeko, $43. There's the Haunter one, market price $69. And we got the Meloetta down here. And I got some of the cards. So here's Steven's Beldum. It was at $250 in a 10. Now last sold $122. And it's got a PSA pop of 535 in a 10, 856 in a 9, and 135 in an 8. So kind of tough to grade. Not as tough as the Haunter. Next we have the Marnie's Morpeko here. I think this card is the coolest promo out of all of them. I think it's even way cooler than the Haunter. And you got Marnie. Last sold $165, $171. This card was $471. But that's not a bad price for that card at all. And then here is the Meloetta, which is selling for about $125 in a 10. So not a bad idea to pick all three of these up probably in a 10 because they're not that expensive. And their promos are usually a little bit tougher to grade. And if we do not get another reprint of them, I could definitely see them going up in price. Next is from Cloudfire TCG. Okay, since you're the singles expert of YouTube, appreciate that. May I ask, Sword and Shield, Scarlet Violet Era, alt arts of awesome Pokemon with great art that are in and around $100. Don't they seem underpriced like the Mew UPC promo, the Charizards from the Sword and Shield UPC, Obsidian Flame Zard, 151 Zapdos, Stained Glass Birds? Some are just promos that used to cost nothing, but the art is so deadly. Am I a Timmy? Are these underpriced? So the cards that I think are the most slept on that entire list is the Charizards from the UPC. The Charizard VMAX is the same price as the new Mega Charizard X promo from the new UPC. That UPC costs $180, and the Sword and Shield one costs about $500, and I think the art is 100 times better. Like it's an actual alternate art. This is just like a Mega Attack Rare promo. So yeah, I think those Zards are completely slept on. The other cards, I mean, 151 Zapdos just went crazy. The Obsidian Flame Zard is going up in price. The Stained Glass Birds, I mean, sealed is like $160. I still remember buying a ton of those at like $5 a card. So that just seems pretty expensive to me. But it is a very, very unique card, but it has such a high pop rate. The Hidden Fates ETB is one of the most reprinted things in Pokemon history. And then same thing with the Mew UPC promo. I bought a ton of those at $3, $4, so they're kind of expensive to me right now. But I could definitely see that card being very, very expensive in the future. Because I do think that card is better than the Bubble Mew. I know I get hate for that, but I think it's such an awesome card. Next is from A. Yeltz Castro. Beard, I have a question. So I haven't been able to get my hands on Pokemon Center ETBs, but I've been lucky with regular ETB drops. Do you think regular ETBs have potential still to do better in the long run? Or would you try and trade them out for Pokemon Center ones? ETBs do great. They just take a little bit longer because they're much easier to get. You got to think you can only get a Pokemon Center ETB from Pokemon Center. An ETB you can get at every big box store, every LGS. If you have a bunch of doubles or whatever, maybe trade for a couple Pokemon Center ETBs to have in the collection. But if you're getting regular ETBs at MSRP right now, that is totally fine. Next is from Young Whip 2419. Are master sets sold at a much higher price than the total of each card's worth? No, they're usually sold less. It's one of the main reasons why I don't recommend people go crazy master setting, especially if you do plan on selling them in the next few years or whatever. It takes a long time to sell them, and a lot of people do not want to buy a master set because they just take so much longer to sell because there's so many people that want to rip up in packs and collect it themselves. You got to think there's not that many people walking around a card show just ready to drop a couple grand on a completed master set because they probably already have some of the cards for that set. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't recommend people go crazy with master setting. It's just so tough to move them when they're done. But all the cheaper cards that you probably spent money on, buying reverse holos or EXs and stuff like that, a lot of times, you don't really get the value for that. Next is from Lucky Lowlife. Hey, PokeBeard, my question is, does condition matter for collection boxes? For sealed collectors in the long run, are they going to care about minor tears and bumps on these? For storage and collection purposes, should I trade my sealed tins and collection boxes for some ETBs or cards that I want? Thanks. So yeah, the condition does matter. Not so much in this market where, people just want any type of discount. You normally see a tear or a dent, drop the box, maybe like $20. But when the market is actually a lot slower, that's when it's just impossible to move damaged products unless you're given a huge discount. Trust me, I've done it many, many times. Kind of have butterfingers, so I have dropped a few boxes here and there in my day. But yeah, if you can do some trades, maybe keep a few of your nice collection boxes that have no dents or tears, trade some of your damaged ones for a couple really nice, Pokemon Center ETBs, booster boxes, stuff like that. Not a bad idea at all. Because just like I said with the last question, you got to remember, collection boxes, you can get them at every store. A booster box, you can't buy a booster box from Walmart or Target or a Pokemon Center ETB. That's why booster boxes and Pokemon Center ETBs are king. Because you can only either get them from an LGS or Pokemon Center website. Next is from Chava Sphere. Sorry if I butchered that. Hey, Beard. How do you decide on what to send to grading? Do you just eyeball the cards or measure them and really put them under a microscope, stuff like that? So I just usually eyeball them. I'm pretty decent at being able to tell, you know, the centering, and then you just got to look for those white specks on those corners. If you got a few of them, odds are you're probably not going to get a 10. But if I see a card that's centered pretty well with maybe like one little white speck, I'm sending it through. But yeah, it's totally fine though if you do want to, you know, put stuff under a microscope and really take your time with it, especially, you know, if money's kind of tight and, you know, you really need this submission to, you know, pay off and you don't want to send in a bunch of crappy cards. That's the thing. I vend a ton now, and so many people bring me just terrible cards that should never have been graded. You know, basic Vs, EXs, like just $1 or $2 trainers, just anything that they pulled, they got it graded. And there's just so many 8s and 9s. It's just so rough, and I feel so bad because it is not cheap to get your cards graded. So yeah, if you're tight on money at all, definitely take your time and pick your best possible cards. And that's one of the reasons too why I love to buy a ton of promos at one time, because in that way I have 100 cards that I can look through and just pick out the top 5 or top 10 or whatever it is and get them graded. All right, next question is from @Nathum I89. Hey, PokeBeard, in your opinion, do you have a percentage split on collecting sealed versus raw graded? Appreciate everybody should collect what they love first, but I find it easier to sell, trade, and carry cards that shows and sell online. Something like 30 to 40% sealed, longer term plays, and 60 to 70% raw graded as you can grade yourself to, which is fun, but the upside of a 10 outweighs the short term gains of sealed, outside of Destined Rivals, of course. So, me, I'm definitely more cards than I am sealed products. I'm buying cards literally almost every day. And for sealed products, especially in this market, I usually only, you know, get it at MSRP, like Pokemon Center stuff, or, you know, if it's a product I really, really like or trying to finish a collection, then I'm working on stuff like that. Like I need a few more of the Tag Team 10s. I need a few more Scarlet and Violet Air booster boxes so I can get my, you know, 4 booster boxes of every single set plus the booster box sealed case. I need a few more Pokemon Center ETBs, so stuff like that. But for cards, I mean, I need so many different cards. I'm replacing a ton of cards that are like moderately played and lightly played for near mint cards. So my collection is probably 80% cards, 20% sealed products. But that's because I'm trying to do such a crazy collection where I'm basically collecting the rarest cards from every single set and era in all of Pokemon history. So it's kind of a crazy collection, and that's why I do so many cards. Plus, I also like the cards a lot more than sealed products, but I do love sealed products. You know, one of the main reasons why I like sealed products so much is growing up, I was never really able to afford a booster box or anything crazy like that. It was always just like one pack at a time. But now that I'm older, I love that I can have booster boxes and ETBs, and my house feels like a card shop. Because no joke, a card shop is my favorite place on earth. So that's one of the main reasons why I love sealed products. They also do really, really well investment-wise. And then too, if you are getting stuff graded, that can definitely outperform a lot of sealed products, especially if you get really, really good at it and you're buying these cards when they're a couple dollars a piece, like what I do with the promos. And then that way, you know, you got a ton of cards to choose from to grade. So grading can get absolutely crazy. Next is from @CascadiaTCG. Another vending question for you. What are your thoughts on consignment? I have some coworkers who have some childhood binders that they want to sell. I don't have the cash flow to buy it all, and some things are very expensive. First edition Charizard. How do you go about consigning things like that? What's the best way to keep things separate from my own inventory? What's the move if a buyer trades into a card you're consigning? So I consigned one time with a buddy, and I know a few other people who have done it. And I just had a whole extra case, and it was just all their stuff in that case. And I actually didn't take any trades because he wanted to get out of Pokemon. So he just wanted, you know, money. So yeah, I didn't accept any trades on that case, and then I just kept everything separate. I also took a picture of every deal that I made of his cards just to make sure nothing gets, you know, crazy. So that's what I did. And then I think he gave me like 15% of everything that I sold for him, which, you know, is about what you get if you're sold on eBay. And then I just brought him, you know, a ton of cash. So that's what I would do. All right, next question is from @Wazinator. Should I trade Japanese 151 booster box plus cash difference for 3 Ascended Heroes ETBs? I don't mind that deal at all. I think Ascended Heroes is literally one of the craziest sets we've ever had. And Japanese is definitely a slow mover. It'll do good, but it's just so slow. Next is from @DameB. Hello, Beard. Simple question. What would you prefer or recommend to new collectors? Singles and binders or slabs? Awesome video as always. So I'm definitely a singles and binder guy. That's my all-time favorite, and that is just the easiest and best way to collect because you get so many more cards that way. Now, what I would recommend doing is looking at all the different Pokemon sets, looking at all the different cards, make a list of your favorite Pokemon, and really think about what slab collection you want to get. Because slabs are nice. They display really, really good on a shelf. That's the one bad thing about a binder. They do not display well. But I see so many people buying so many random slabs, and their collection's just kind of random, and then they're not really super attached to it. But if you start off with the collection and you finish it, it's going to be your little baby. So that's why I always recommend, look through all the sets, figure out exactly what you want, figure out your favorite Pokemon, and then from there, decide on what collection you want to do. If you want to just do a couple things and, maybe get all the gold cards from Crown Zenith, stuff like that. Like really think about little collections, because that way you're not just going to buy a bunch of random cards that you kind of like. And then, when you're doing the raw binder collections, like I mentioned earlier, not the biggest fan of master setting. So like for the Scarlet and Violet and Mega Evolution era, I collect every single illustration rare and special illustration rare. So when I get all of them for a set, to me, it's done. It's mastered, even though it's not technically a true master set. But to me, I'm collecting my favorite cards. I'm not spending a ton of money on other cards that I might not like as much, because I just want to collect what I like. So you just really think about it before you spend a ton of money. And next question is from Rick S3. Question: many sets and promos have related cards. When grading, how do you value sequential graded cards? Thanks for all the info and beard inspiration. So I'm actually not the biggest fan of sequential sets. I just do not care about them at all. I don't know why. I've just never cared. To me, you just sent the cards in at the exact same time in order. Nothing really special about that. Maybe for some older stuff I could maybe see, but even then I just don't care. But they definitely do carry a premium. So if you do have a sequential set of something, I would definitely charge a little bit more than everybody else that's just selling their regular set that isn't sequential. And you can always go a little bit higher and do like best offer. So that way, people can send you offers and you can actually see, the premium that you're getting for that sequential set. Because there is some crazy OCD people out there that just love it. Next is from the Dashing Adventure. Given the lack of massive chase and presumably a lot of packs being opened, do you think it would be reasonable to master perfect order without opening a single pack? What would be the best way to get the commons and uncommons? When do you think is the best time to start? So you should always be buying singles to finish master sets, especially if you're just trying to get commons and uncommons by opening up packs. It's so much more expensive. A lot of times you can check on eBay and people will sell the entire common and uncommon and rare, reverse holo, all that together for a certain amount of money, usually like, I don't know, $50, depends on the set, of course. But you're never going to get that by opening up $50 worth of packs. That's why I actually liked when Danny Phantom would make those videos where he would open up a bunch of packs, so he pulled the entire master set, so you guys could actually see how many packs it really takes, and it is so many packs. So anytime you're trying to do a master set, I strongly suggest buying singles. Of course, buy a couple boxes right away. You're going to fill a bunch of spots for the commons and uncommons, but there's going to be so many random ones you need. So open up a few things right away, then buy singles, and you're good to go. And last question is from a member at DJesus. Hey Beard, love the content as always. I recently got a handful of my mid-era cards graded from PSA for the first time ever and was kind of disappointed with the outcome. 110, 2 7s, 2 6s, and 1 4. Brutal. I really thought most would be at least an 8. My question is, should I try and sell them as is or crack them and sell them raw to better my return on the cards? So obviously keep the 10. You could probably keep the 2 7s. Definitely crack the 4. And you could probably crack both 6s, to be honest. But with that 4, there's got to be some sort of dent or crease in there probably, unless the grader was just, drunk that day or something. I don't know. So definitely look over that card, because you do not want to rip anybody off to where, let's say there is a big crease in there that's kind of hard to see, especially like in a top loader, to where you go sell it as near mint and kind of rip someone off. So try not to do that and try to condition everything accurately. So I would definitely look for that dent or crease. And a lot of times you can get some creases to look a little bit better and dents to look a little bit better. There's a lot of videos online that show you how to do that. So that's what I would do. But all right, that was today's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. I will also be in Denver next weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after at Trading Card Con with Coop and Beard Dad. It's going to be a crazy show. So definitely check that out. And if you guys want to support more, you guys can check out my Instagram, my TikTok, Facebook, YouTube membership, all that. You guys know what to do. You guys are the absolute best. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. Then if you guys want to watch my last Pokemon Market Monday, which was crazy, click this video right here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.